Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello, hello.
We're going to let everybody jump on in here. We love to see those people log in. And we have a really special presentation for you guys today. So I'm excited to get started with everything. Yay, look at all these faces. All right, for those of you guys, I can see we've got a lot of new faces too. Welcome to our monthly State of the Industry presentation. This is meeting style, so we love to come together as a network and as a family. So if you are able to and dressed appropriately, please turn your video on so we can get to know our agents and family across the network. We have a completely full agenda today. We have got our special guest speakers, which include our team leaders, CEOs from across the network with their greatest ahas and takeaways from Mega Camp, including a huge number of resources, tools, and extra value adds that we're going to be dropping on you guys today.
Real quick, so just let me know if you need anything from me.
Oh, thank you. Make sure you guys keep yourself on mute, but use that chat box and drop any questions, ahas, or thoughts that you have into that. The next thing that I am going to say is don't worry about writing all of the links and resources down. We will follow up today's presentation with a wrap-up email that will include a slideshow of every presentation that you're going to hear about today, as well as a master link to everything from Mega Camp, as well as a link to each and every tool and resource we are going to cover. All right, we ready to rock and roll, you guys?
Ready.
All right, we are going to kick this thing off once again with the best of Mega Camp. Now, we cannot miss the most anticipated thing from Mega Camp, and which many of you have asked in anticipation to bring to our State of the Industry, which is the highlights from Gary Keller's State of the Market. So back by popular demand to wrap up all the best nuggets from Gary Keller's mastermind on the market update is the one and only Miss Katie Hardman, team leader at KWRP. You ready, Katie?
I am ready and super excited. I took the hour of presentation and shrunk it into 10 to 15 minutes. So one, I'm going to talk really fast. Two, there's more to the presentation than just what I'm going to talk about. So I'll put the link to the slides in the chat, but let's rock and roll. Leslie, will you go to the next slide? We're going to start by talking about home sales. And what's interesting about this one, well, when you look at it, it's not that interesting, right? It's the story we all know. Since 07, 08, 09, we've been on an upward trajectory of home sales per year. We're projected to hit the year or end the year with 5.9 million in home sales. And if history tells us anything, it's we have a few years of increase and then a few years of stability, and then a few years of increase, and then a few years of just stability. And so, well, I guess except for when we had the Great Recession. So you'll see a theme in this presentation is, but we've got regulation for that. So if you're concerned about, are we going to see what we saw back in 05, 06, 07, we've got better regulations in place now. So what I would take away from this slide is 5.9 million is the fifth best year in the history of our industry for home sales, which is a huge number, and it's exciting. And what Gary predicts for the future, for next year for our industry, is just a flat year. We've had a couple of years of increase, so we're going to have a flat year. So let's go to the next slide, which is a little bit more interesting, and it's seasonality. And what's interesting about this one is if you look back to 2009, it was a pretty typical year, 47% of home sales the first half, 53% of home sales the second half. In 2020, we all know was an interesting year. Our sales fell off for a few months when COVID first hit, and we made up for that in the second half of the year. So that will show abnormal seasonality, and that 59% in the second half of 2020 kind of bled into the first half of 2021. So we had a little bit higher level of seasonality in the first half of this year. So what Gary said is it's going to feel like a little bit of a slowdown for the second half of this year, but that's only because we've been running and gunning for a year and a half on abnormal seasonality. And the point I would make about this is Jay Papasan actually said that headlines can sometimes be misleading when looking at these numbers. Headlines may say that year over year growth has declined, which is not inaccurate. Yes, it may have declined from 59% to 51% on the second half of the year, but that's only because we've had abnormal seasonality. So this is where, as the real estate expert, you get to tell a more true story to your clients when they see headlines that are saying, oh no, numbers are declining. Well, yes, and it's because we had an abnormal end to 2020. So just something to keep in mind. Let's go to the next slide, which talks about home prices. And what I wanted to talk about in this is, if we look at the blue graph, it's like, oh my goodness, prices have increased dramatically, which they have. However, if you look at the yellow line, which shows the long-term average of a 4% increase, it's like, oh, well, we're just back on track to the 4% average. But the point to make here is the rate at which it's increasing. So if you look at 2019 to 20, we had a 13% increase in home price. And from 2020 to 2021, we had a 15% increase in home price. So when you're looking at those numbers, we had a 28% increase in home price in 24 months. That is something to note and something to watch. We've not had an increase like that since our huge drop off in 03, 04, 05. Like we had that rise, and then we had a huge drop off, and then we saw double-digit increases. So the point to make here is, anytime we have an annual median home price above the 4% long-term average, there's going to be a correction. So just something to note, there's going to be a correction. Let's go to the next slide, which is inventory. And so no surprise here, right? We all felt this, and these are national numbers. So in December of 20, we hit the low of inventory of 1.9 months. And Gary made a funny during this, and he said, when you've got 70 offers on one house, you know something's out of whack. And I think we all kind of felt that at the beginning of this year. It just felt a little crazy. And the good news in this slide is that we're coming up from that. And so from the real estate professional perspective, is if you had buyers that got defeated or were making multiple offers and just getting beat out, now it's the time to revisit those buyers, or have those buyers revisit the market, because we are seeing a little bit of an uptick in inventory. This is also where, if you had sellers with the objection of, I would sell my house, but I'm afraid I don't have anywhere to go. Well, they're seeing an uptick in inventory. So I would revisit those conversations with your buyers. The other interesting thing, and just to talk a little bit about the industry, Gary said that this is when you see a lot of the iBuyer, knock home service, open doors, Zillow offers really hit heavy in our market. And I know we've had a lot of conversations locally about some of those services that have shown up in our markets. And what he said is, when inventory is low and prices are going up, these companies' mentality is, you can buy high and sell higher. Well, their success is only due to the market. So when the market changes, their success changes. So if we're having these conversations locally about, like, Zillow's making these outrageous offers, or iBuyers are starting to show up, or the knock home swap program, those are all awesome, and they're market specific. So as the market changes, just know that we'll want to pay attention to other services that are out there. Let's go to the next slide, which is mortgage rates monthly. This is the other side of affordability, right? We talked about home prices. Now mortgage rates is the other side. And the story we've been talking about for so long is mortgage rates are still historically low, which is an awesome story to be telling. And why prices can continue to go up and homes are still affordable is because interest rates are low. And Jay Papasan on stage made the comment that we've been saying year after year interest rates are going to go up, and year after year they don't. So I'm not going to make that prediction. However, every sign points to they will increase. When that happens, we're not quite sure, but Gary said that they're forecasting 3.7% by the end of 2020. So just something to be thinking about. And Jason Abrams was also on stage during this session, and he said, mortgage rates are one piece of this, but programs are the other piece of this when it comes to mortgages. And he said that he himself had a listing where an offer came in and it had 100% financing. And he like grabbed his seat and he's like, oh man, are we seeing what we saw back in 05, 06, 07? And it's a national bank. He called the bank and they said, yeah, anybody with a 650 credit score or higher qualifies for 100% financing, which that's a very good credit score. A lot of people have credit scores higher than that. So when we're looking at mortgage rates or we're doing the fiduciary for our client and talking about, is this the best time to buy or sell? Then I would also be looking and consulting on what programs are available or what types of opportunities are out there for your clients as well. Okay, let's do a little bit of industry economy updates and talk about GDP. So this plays a role in our industry just when it comes to spending. So the GDP is all spending, goods and services. And so this graph tells us nothing we didn't know when COVID hit, all spending stopped. And then as we got comfortable in COVID, spending came back. And what's interesting is where spending used to be heavier on the services side, when COVID hit, we stopped getting our hair cut, we stopped going, getting our clothes tailored, we stopped paying for these services, but goods ramped up. We were making more Amazon purchases. We were doing home remodels and purchasing appliances. And what you're seeing now is an equilibrium, or trying to figure out the mix of goods versus services. But the story in this is anytime the GDP is over 2%, you're in a good market. So we are doing good when it comes to consumer spending. Okay, consumer confidence, the next slide. This is interesting because it's kind of a contradiction. So GDP is good, spending is good, but if you look at consumer confidence, it's at an all-time low, which granted, COVID has a huge piece of that. And when we talk about a new variant and rules and regulations changing, yes, consumer confidence is at an all-time low. The moral of the story here is when confidence is low or there's uncertainty amongst the consumer, they look for answers. And they go to experts for those answers. So as the real estate professional, you are the expert. So like we talked about at the beginning of COVID and making care calls, now is the time to do that again. They really emphasized making those care calls because confidence is low and you have information and you are the expert and people are searching that information because there's uncertainty. So if there's one piece of advice from this slide, it would be to reach back out to your database. Let's go to the next slide, which is unemployment and job openings. So there were a few slides on unemployment, but I thought this was the most important, or this is the one that had the most information. So the yellow line is unemployment rate, and anything below 6% is a healthy market. So you'll see when COVID hit, we went up to 14%, but we've come back down to a healthy market. We're below 6%. The blue lines or the blue graphs on here are job openings though, which I thought was very interesting. And if you've been hiring lately, thinking about hiring, stopped hiring because it's frustrating, I feel ya. And this tells that story. There's more jobs available now than there's been in the last couple years. And that's because there were openings before COVID hit. And then there's companies who have shown up, who have succeeded during COVID. So there's more opportunities in those industries. And the moral of the story here is when you have that many openings and the labor market is tight, meaning unemployment is low, people have multiple offers on the table so they can move from job to job and negotiate. So what you'll see during this time is an increase in salaries or an increase in wages to just be able to employ people. And because of that, if for business owners, that means the cost of the service or the cost of the good goes up. So you kind of get in this cycle of wages go up, cost of goods and services go up, wages go up, which can feel like a negative thing, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. It's actually a positive. So let's go to the next slide, which is inflation. And we talked about this, right? Prices are going up, labor market demand is going up, so inflation is going up, and the target is 2%. So we're a little above that. However, there's regulations for this, and the Fed is watching it. And what the Fed has said is that they want to see it a little above the target to bring the economy back, but we'll probably see sometime next year a little bit of monetary policy show up just to bring inflation back to where it should be. So yes, there is inflation. The Fed is on it. I guess that's the story I want to tell with that one. Let's move on to the next one, which is affordability. This one is super interesting because it tracks back to 1975. And so the two lines are median household income and median home price. And they've always kind of been in alignment up until about 02, 03, when you see a little bit of a divergence, but they come back together. But now we're seeing the biggest divergence since 1975, which what this graph doesn't tell you, and I thought was an interesting stat that they shared during the presentation, was the top 5% of earnings are now earning 200% more than the middle 20%. So the top 5% is earning 200% more than the middle 20%. And the top 20% is earning 70% more than the middle 20%. So it feels like affordability or those price increases compared to median household income is a huge gap, and it is, yet it's affordable for a certain price point or for a certain income. And this is where salaries increasing and the job market is going to hopefully bring those back into alignment. So don't be afraid. It's all moving in the right direction. And then let's just wrap up. I have 3 more slides, one on mortgage forbearance, which is a kind of a hot topic right now, right? In the next couple of months, we'll see a lot of the mortgage forbearance loans reach a final review. So just a couple points I want to make on this. We have 50% less forbearance loans than we did in June 2020. And even if all of the loans in forbearance went for sale, which most likely won't happen, we would only increase our months of inventory by 2 months. So we'd still be in a balanced market. So yes, there are homes that may hit the market because of forbearance, but it's not going to shift us so far out of a seller's market or out of equilibrium that it's going to cause a problem. And then I want to end on e-commerce, because this is where Gary's talked about the future of our industry. And so he showed this graph, and what it shows is over the last 20 years, e-commerce has become increasingly a part of our daily habits. And then when COVID hit, we saw a huge increase in e-commerce. I blame Amazon for all of my e-commerce increase. However, what you'll notice is it didn't come back down to where it was. So e-commerce and online spending and being digitally based, physically enhanced, to use Gary's words, is something that we all need to think about. And I'll end on the next slide, which is it shows different industries and what is showing up for different industries. So on the far left, you see groceries, and pre-pandemic online spending was 11% of their business, and it doubled during the beginning of the pandemic, and it's still double. So people have learned that they're okay purchasing, or the amount of people who are okay purchasing their groceries online has doubled. However, if you look at health and beauty, home goods, apparel, their pre-pandemic online spending or e-commerce compared to where it is today is pretty flat. There are some things that people like to experience, touch, feel, smell in real life. And so what Gary said is that when it comes to the real estate business, there's going to be a percentage of people who are okay seeing the flyers, seeing the home tour and purchasing without ever going in the home. So we need to be digitally based, physically enhanced. However, not everybody is going to want to do that. So being digitally based and physically enhanced is also important. So I think the moral of the story there is what we've learned to do digitally during this last 2 years, continue to do and continue to get better at, and physically enhance your experience with your customers. And that's all I got.
Awesome, Katie, thank you so much. Like, I feel like you've just become our resident economist of choice. And you guys, once again, we are going to provide all of these slides for you guys. And really, Katie just cut through that hour-plus long presentation to the most important slides for you going to be implementing in your business right now and be able to articulate to our clients to be the fiduciary. So awesome. We are going to keep rolling through our biggest ahas, which brings me to, I get to do the next one, which I'm very passionate about, which is a life and business by design. One of the coolest things that I loved about that we saw on the mega camp stage this year was this concept that it really was about the business by design. That in the past, we have created this model, a pathway, if you will, to the 7 levels of real estate. However, it was misinterpreted as that you were meant to walk all of those 7 levels. But the truth of the matter is that each and every single level in itself is a definition or is a destination. And why I love this so much was because when the Xperience Brokerage Network got together, we created our own mission, which you see on the screen right now, which was to create an environment where brokers at all levels can build an experiential business and life that they design and we support. So we saw that on the big stage this year with Jason Abrams and Gary Keller going over their models, their business models of operational leverage, which included solo with admin only, small teams, big teams, and expansion teams. Why was this so important was this endless pursuit of the next level caused people to feel judgment around where they were and not put the focus on what their personal choice and joy was in building their business. So Gary's request was to reframe and think of each of these levels as a choice and a destination and not a stepping stone. Each of these 5 operational leverage systems was created with models, structures, their values, and I will give you the slides for each of these models. So as you think about what you want your business to look like now and into the future, you can start making the best decisions that are going to fund and support your perfect life. Now, where can you get started with some of those resources? This is, as you're thinking about what 2022 is going to hold for you, we want to officially announce that the National Business Planning Clinic will be done this year on October 20th and 21st. We are going to be live streaming this in each of our market centers. It will be taught by the incredible Gene Rivers. He will have guest speakers who will be presenting and speaking to each of those 5 operational models. So you definitely want to put this on your schedule. We will also, if you want to watch it from home, from the comfort of your own couch, you can do that as well. We are going to make sure you have the registration. For those of you that are now at the point in your operational leverage that you are looking to add talent to your world, we also wanted to make sure that you knew that the region is presenting career visioning and 30-60-90 with the incredible Lucas Sherraden this month on September 29th and 30th. So as you explore whether growing your business to the next level or adding team members is right for you, please check out that very valuable class. And then, of course, if you have selected which model you want or are still in exploration, we wanted to make sure that you are aware that Xperience Growth Coaching also has their Playbook Consulting program, which does offer a free consultation to talk about your big why, what you want your business to look like, and help you decide what are the best systems and models to put into place to help you get there. All right, that was my number 2 big aha and takeaway from Mega Camp. Next up, number 3, Jake Norman, our team leader from Sunset Corridor. What do you got?
So I couldn't find the slide, guys. I wanted to find it. I'll try to track it down. So here was the thing that was really stuck out to me is there was a conversation Jason Abrams, Gary had of every real estate agent needs to be racing to the center of the consumer's real estate experience. And what they really went through with that is this thought of, in years past, we kind of gave up that search experience to other companies. We let that go somewhere else. We let insurance kind of be somewhere else. We let mortgage be somewhere else. And we kind of hoped that somehow it would all trickle back to us, that consumer experience. And really this call they gave was, it's time for us to race to the center. It's time for us to be thinking about, how do we get at the center of that? How do we become the person for our sphere of influence that they're thinking of when they think of financing and mortgage and refinance? How do we become the agent that they're thinking of when they're asking about insurance, when they're asking about maintaining their home, that entire consumer experience around real estate? And here's the thing that stuck out to me for years as I've listened to Gary, is his heartbeat is representing the consumer at the highest level. And he believes at his core that the best way to do that is us as fiduciary agents showing up at the center of the real estate experience, not just the buy sell transaction. And so the challenge was, how can I become the agent that when our consumer thinks, I want to search real estate, we get them on our tools, our platforms. When they think of mortgage or financing or refinancing, they're thinking, hey, I need to call my agent, my real estate agent, and we can say, hey, here's Keller Mortgage. That's why Gary rolled that program, that bought that mortgage company, right, and created that, is so that we as the real estate agent could be that point of contact. And then he went out and created Keller Covered, which agents I'm finding aren't as aware of, that we have Keller Covered as a platform. I myself use this product. When I bought my home here in Oregon just recently, I went on to kellercovered.com and got my quote. Gary did those things so us as an individual real estate agent, as a team within Keller Williams, can go and compete with these other competitors snuck into our industry, if you will, through search, through mortgage, through other ways. Gary went and did this so all of us as agents can say, hey, we want to be at the center of the transaction. We're the point of contact when they think of refinancing. We can call and offer that value. We can call and offer the value of Keller Covered. We can call and offer all of those things. And not just that, but beyond that, think of how you could create your own vendor list where they're, even in the maintenance phase of their home, they're thinking of you. And so that was just my big aha as an agent, was thinking through this thought of, rather than having that preferred lender, this preferred relationship, how do you become the center of that transaction? Because the reality is that the disruption.
Oh my gosh, we lost him. We lost him. Zoom update challenges.
Cliffhanger.
Right. How do you become the center of the transaction? I love that. And so many tools that we have in our tool belt here at KW. So we are going to keep rocking and rolling with our number 4, Miss Sarah Noelle, our team leader from Capital City. Where are you at?
Thank you so much, Leslie. So excited to share my biggest aha. I'll be honest, my biggest aha from Mega Camp actually started about 8 months ago. I'll be the first to tell you and introduce myself by explaining that on my first day at KW, I weighed in on a book that I had never read. And would you guess it? The topic was racism. And I will be humble in sharing that I had it totally wrong. I've worked with many other companies. I had been sent to attend diversity, equity, and inclusion conferences. I sat in on mind shares. But the greatest proof and test of DEI for me is the culture committed to spending the time to really embody it, and a willingness to have an ongoing, powerful conversation, sometimes uncomfortable conversations, by actually putting DEI and the conversations around it on agendas, having the discussions at Mega Camp, making book clubs around important titles, offering endless coaching, training, and teaching opportunities for all. The Xperience Brokerage Network, in my eyes, has really embodied that E. Added this last year to our Y4C2TEs by KW International. That E stands for equity. It was the writing on the wall, in my opinion, but the diligent work of our local equity committees in each of our locations is the actual reflection of the local interests and that diligence committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion in our industry as a whole. So my biggest takeaway, and I hope that you have already registered, our goal is to have 100% attendance. 100% attendance in the color of real estate. We plan to learn about identifying and understanding our own unconscious bias, learning about the history that contributes to today's home ownership gap, and of course, avoiding fair housing violations and identifying resources to ensure fair housing for all. It's going to be such a powerful session taught by our regional ambassador for the KW Social Equity Task Force, an amazing speaker Julia Lachey Israel. And I just hope that you will join us. We want to see 100% of our family in attendance. And heart to heart, if you have any interest in getting involved or growing your leadership within your team, your market center, your community, I hope that you will raise your hand and please consider this your second invitation to join us as well for the Learn the Pathway to Leadership webinar. It's going to be such a powerful session. Many people have already spoken so highly and plan to attend because, as we know, equity means opportunity for all. And they definitely beat that drum at Mega Camp, and I'm so happy that they did.
I love it. Thank you, Sarah, for highlighting that super important one, which brings us to number 5. Ms. Kay Reed from our Southern Oregon location, talk to us about our number 5 aha.
Okay, so number 5, understand and leverage your total addressable market. Their energy at Mega Camp was off the charts. There was so much to consume and absorb and so much to share. And I am so excited to share my big aha with you. The leverage that we have as industry leaders is amazing. Brady Sandoval is growing our luxury brand nationally. We now have the opportunity, like never before, to align with Keller Williams luxury leaders and launch luxury divisions in each of our market centers. The same with commercial. Cynthia Lee is going to take commercial to all new heights. Using these segmentations to create divisions of experts in every segment of our industry. I know in our area here in Southern Oregon, it's land and new home sales. With Casey Mock driving the land segment and Ellen Schweinberg offering the new Builder Development Realtor Education course launching this month, the 15th and 16th of this month, and there'll be a link for that. These will be growth guidance for our brokers, and in your area, you may have sports and entertainment connections. We have Jordan Stewart building this segment that will help you grow in this area. And let's not forget about expansion. Here at the Xperience Brokerage Network, we have one of the most notable industry experts in this segment, Chris Suarez, and now with Cody Gibson driving this segment with K-Win. And of course, the big announcement. Bound to get you energized is KW Military. If you can dream it, we can create it. Talk with your team leaders if you want to become involved and lead your market center in any of these segments. We are excited to master these segments within our market centers and be the disruptor in our communities. Be the disruptor. Change is inevitable. Participation is optional. We don't change, eventually change won't be an option. You decide at what level you want to play with Keller Williams. Keller Williams Xperience Brokerage Network is the land of opportunities for those who are learning-based, hungry, and willing to take action. K-1 expansion teams are just one way to get the most of what Keller Williams has to offer. But let's drill this down to a local area. Let's drill this down to our own backyards. How can you do, be, and achieve more? And there's going to be a ton of links if they haven't started populating. We've got new homes, KW military and veterans, the KW Commercial, KW Luxury, KW Land, the ESO, KW Worldwide. There's something that I know that sparks joy in your heart, and it's in alignment with one of these segments. I challenge you to take it on and just really become an industry leader in that.
Awesome. Thank you, Carrie. And to close out our mega camp ahas, before we turn this over to Chris to wrap this all up today, is number 6, culture is our constant. And what really the biggest takeaway is now and always with KW and with the Xperience Brokerage Network and even of our market centers, is that people matter, and people matter the most. And nothing exemplifies our mission, our vision, and our values like KW Cares. It is exactly 1 year anniversary from our wildfires that devastated Oregon last year and displaced so many of our KW family members and our clients. We lost homes, we lost pets, and many possessions. Well, today, although our air quality in some of our areas is not fantastic and some of our family members are facing wildfires, the biggest need is coming from the devastation from Hurricane Ida that took out our Gulf states as well as greatly impacted our eastern seaboard. So today we are asking you to return the favor and give back the love and the support that we experienced last year, and consider donating to KW Cares. Within hours of Ida making landfall, KW already had multiple 18-wheeler trailers on the road. They delivered generators and precious food, supplies, and waters to families in need. But here's the big thing, you guys, is these things hit, but it's not over yet. As Hurricane Ida made its way across land, one of the numbers that came out today was that 47,000 pending real estate transactions in New York and New Jersey alone are at risk of not being able to close, or those homes were completely wiped out. So this is just the beginning of the care that those families will need. We are going to drop the KW Cares links into this, and we're going to ask you to dig deep and help those, because these natural disasters keep happening. And my other request is for any Xperience Brokerage Network family member, agent that has family in one of these affected areas, please reach out to your team leader today so that we can make sure to assist you with getting the proper support that you need. We have multiple command stations set up across the country, and we do have our own network cares contribution that we can help support your families right now. All right, well, those are the 6 biggest takeaways from Mega Camp 2021. So we are going to put a bow on it. For those of you who missed Mega Camp, please reach out to your leadership team. We will continue to bring those valuable resources to you every single day in the Market Center. We will continue to live stream some of those best sessions, as well as provide you with those resources. And for those of you looking ahead to participate in the next opportunity, that will be Family Reunion 2022, which is currently set for February in Orlando, Florida. More information to come as we get it. For those of you guys who are really looking forward to get back to in-person activities, we're hoping that you will join us for that experience in 2022. Whew, all right, great job, leaders. All right, wrapping up today's call. Chris, are you with us? I don't see you on the call yet. You are, yay, fantastic. All right, we are going to turn the last part of this over to you, and you're going to give us some 5 to Thrive, right?
Awesome. Well, thanks for giving me a little bit of time here. Appreciate the opportunity. What I wanted to do today, guys, with this group was to go through just 5 things that I've been sharing with our teams and our agents around what we need to do between now and the end of the 4th quarter. I look at September 1st as the beginning of the fourth quarter, and everyone always looks at me and says, well, Chris, if it's a quarter, that means it's only 3 months. So that really starts in October. But in the real estate world, the fourth quarter starts in September, because December is really the first month of the first quarter of 2022 is how I look at it. So what I want to do is go through the 5 things that I think that every single agent should be focused on, business owners should be doing, and just 5 ways to think as we head through September, October, and November. So the first way, or the first suggestion would be, don't change your goal. And here's why I bring this up, because I probably hear this more than anything right now, right? Whether you're an agent leading a team, whether you're a solo agent, whether you're a buyer's agent, whether you're someone at the brokerage level, I'm looking at what I said I was going to do. I'm looking at where we are. I have 3 months. Let's just change that goal. Let's get refocused, and I'll set a new goal. And I say this: don't use an unexpected challenge that happened at some point this year as an excuse for you not to just show up one more time. The only purpose of our goals, guys, is to set the activities necessary to hit those goals. The goal is irrelevant, truly. Like we don't control the goal outcome. We don't control the result. Now, I'm a firm believer that if we set a strategy and we set a rhythm and we know what activities will get us there, well, we'd be there, and we wouldn't actually be talking about changing our goal. We'd be high-fiving about how we've hit our goal, or we've gone past it, or we're on track for it. But the challenge is somewhere along the way this year, we stopped doing the activities that we knew it was going to take to hit that goal. And so here we are. And we now want to convince ourselves that if we set a new goal, we're going to get recommitted and be re-energized. And then we'll all of a sudden show up. And it's just not true, because it happens every fourth quarter. So instead, I would say unplug from the outcome or the result and plug into the activities that you had committed to at the beginning of the year to achieve the result that you wanted to hit, which means keep the goal what it was and look back at what you promised yourself you would do, and then do it. And for us, the importance here is it allows us to prove to ourselves that those goals are attainable, because those activities can be done by us in September, in October, in November. Even in short bursts, we have to prove to ourselves that we can do those activities. The one thing that I sent out before we get to number 2, but I appreciate you moving me along there, Leslie. The one thing that I sent out to my team was this statement: the goal informs the strategy informs the activity, and the activity informs your calendar. That's it, right? The goal informs the strategy informs the activity informs your calendar. So, go back to your goal, the one that you set, do not change it. Look at the strategy, the one that you knew would work. Go back to that strategy, take that strategy and figure out what activity needs to happen in order to execute that strategy. Okay, number 2, win the day. Win the day. If you're going to win in any game, and I love business, because to me, business really shows up as a game, then you have to start knowing the rules of the game. And for us, we have to know the rules of our day. Every single game, guys, has a starting time and ending time. So does your day. What time do you start? What time do you end? The challenge in real estate, and I know this, because I was in one of the brokerages at 4:50 yesterday. I was in the brokerage at 7:30 this morning. I know that our days. By the way, Troy, I see you here, and you were the lone ranger at Barnes at 5. By the way, but every game has a starting time and an ending time, guys. What is your starting time and what is your ending time? Right? Every game has activities and moves that are allowed in that game, right? If I decide to play basketball, I have to play by the rules. I know what's allowed. I know what moves are acceptable and which ones are not. Every game has a coach and a trainer, right? No one shows up, right? No one shows up to play the game without a coach on the bench. Like every team has a coach and a trainer. Every game has a scoreboard. Do you have a scoreboard? Do you know what you did today? Like, do you know if you won the day or not? If we don't go back to the scoreboard, I promise you, you won't be winning most days. And every game has a winner and a loser. Those are the rules of games, guys. Starting time, ending time, activities that are allowed, coaches and trainers. There's a scoreboard, there's a winner and a loser. So what are the rules of your day? Now, each of us has the opportunity to create the rules of our day. Truly, doesn't matter who we are, we do. So what are the rules of my day? What is my schedule? What are the activities that I'm going to commit to? What are the conversations, right? What are the best practices that I'm going to commit to? I ask myself 3 questions. My team knows I write this down in the top of my notebook. That notebook is never too far away. It is in my backpack, this old backpack that I carry around every single day that Katie Hardman laughed at. No, you didn't, just kidding. But in the top of my notebook every single day, I write these 3 questions. It's what can I do today? And there are lots of things I can do today. I could have slept today. I could have sat in a chair today at the farm. Like I could do many things today, right? Then the second question I ask myself, and I write this down, is what will I do today? Okay, of all the things I could do, and some of us are thinking I have no time to sit. Like I could lead gen, I could lead follow up, I could door knock, I could, like, of all the things that I can do today, what will I do today? And then at the end, right, in the morning, I leave that question open. The third question is, what did I do? I tell you guys, things get real. After a week or 2 of starting your day, what can I do? What will I do? And then going back and filling in, what did I do? I've shared with this group many times. One of my favorite go-tos is Stephen Covey's Law of the Farm. Right? Like now I live it, but the Stephen Covey's Law of the Farm says the basic unit of success is what? Who knows the Law of the Farm? What is the basic unit of success? Anyone want to take a stab in the chat box? Well, I'll give you a hint. The word is on the screen. The basic unit of success is the day. That's Covey, right? It is the day. The Law of the Farm says this: a farmer has to show up every single day. They can't take 4 days off and come back to it. They don't get a week or 2 off and then decide like, oh, I'm going to tend the crops now. They wake up every morning at the same time, every single day, and they go to work in the field, guys, every day. There's no way to cram a week of work into 1 day to make up for missed time. And yet in our business, what do? Well, I'm not going to show up this week. I just got busy. I'm not going to make my calls. I'm not going to run the plays. I'm not going to do the activities this week because I'm just stressed, or I'm busy, or I don't have to because I don't work for someone. But the basic unit of success is the day. And that's why the majority of my days look exactly the same every single day. There's no way to cram next week with what needed to get done this week if we want a consistent business. For those of us who have cyclical businesses, I promise you it doesn't follow the cycles of the market. Why do I know? Well, then your business would have just been growing and growing and growing and growing and growing over the last 6 or 7 years, because so has the market. But the reason why our businesses are cyclical is because our schedule is as well. Like we got lots of corn this year, but we got no tomatoes, right? Because we didn't do the work that it took to get either one. In agriculture, we can easily see and agree that natural laws and principles govern the work and determine the harvest. But in social and corporate or business cultures, Covey says we sometimes think we can dismiss the natural process, cheat the system, and still win the day, and we can't. You have to go out and win the day. There's no such thing as cramming. So don't think about the fourth quarter and get overwhelmed because now you have to make up for everything you didn't do in the first, second, third quarter. Nope, it doesn't work that way. Just go out and win the day. Number three is learn something new. I believe that, remember, these are the 5 things we need to do in the fourth quarter. Number 1, don't change your goal. Number 2, win the day. Number 3, learn something new. Here's why. because it takes humility to learn something new. It takes humility to admit that we need to learn. We all need to learn. So often the reason why we're not growing is because we convinced ourselves that at some point in time, like, listen, we looked at how many people showed up for Mega Camp. Like at some point in time, hundreds of our agents decided I'm good. Like I don't need to learn anymore. I know what I need to do. But you know what? There's a reason why some of the top agents across the country of all brands show up to masterminds, to sessions like this. And I'm clearly speaking to the wrong group because you're here, right? But there are hundreds of our friends and business partners and collaborators that aren't here. Guys, we have to learn something new here in the fourth quarter. Every single cell in our body has a drive for life and will continue to try to make something bigger of itself. It's natural. It's the way humans were created. Look at cancer cells, guys. That is a cell that's cut off from an organism or communication from the brain. And what does it do? It decides that it wants to repair itself, but it can't. So it just begins to proliferate. Why? Because it's cut off from communication. I promise you, you are going to change. Like if you do not plug in and commit to learning something new, we just may not change for the better. A skin cell can literally turn itself into a tumor. That cancer cell lost all communication from a greater organism, guys. Don't be that skin cell. Like, don't be that cell. Humans are no different. Plug into communication, plug into learning, plug into growth, plug into your market centers, plug into the network, learn something new. Number 4, it might be my favorite. And I don't know if it's my favorite because it gives me license to not win most days. But number 4 is play the long game. Play the long game. The winner is always the one that sees the future and plays the long game. Now that doesn't give us an excuse to not do the activities, but it gives us a reason why we may not be seeing the result or the win today. Did I do the activity today? Yes. Will I do it tomorrow? Yes. Will I do it a week from now and a month from now and 6 months from now and a year from now? Guys, I'm 22 years in. Like we play the long game, and I have plenty of things that I need to fix 22 years later. Grandmasters of chess. Remember this? We did a call on this maybe a few months ago. They see 10 to 12 moves ahead. Guys, when I play chess, do I move my pawn 1 spot or 2 today? Like I'm not seeing 10 to 12 spaces ahead. But in business, guess what? We need to play the long game. We need to see the future, which means we need to live with delayed gratification. One of our favorite topics around here. You know, and that's tough because we go from text to email to dropping off kids to somehow finding food, like folding laundry, answering voicemails. Like at the end of the day, we look back and say, hey, what did I accomplish? We have to play the long game. Charles Duhigg, in his book Habits, says this: the basis of every bad habit is instant gratification. The basis of all good habits is learned delayed gratification. Simple. Every bad habit that you have, I promise you, is based on our need or desire for instant gratification. Like, think about your bad habit. All of us have a couple of them, right? All of us have some maybe that we don't want to share. And I promise you, the only reason why you have it, it's instantly gratifying. Like there's something that we get out of doing that bad habit. Like not showing up in the morning, I promise you, right? The extra sleep, the sunrise and coffee. Although I do love sunrises and coffee, like that, so that's a good habit. But the bad habits that we have, I promise, it's instantly gratifying. Whatever we chose instead of what we said we were going to do, it's instant gratification versus delayed gratification. Play the long game, guys. Play the long game. And number 5, which is important for us, amidst, especially in this industry, is there are times that we need to learn to be still. This was a book that I shared maybe 7 months ago, Ryan Holiday's book, on stillness is the key. He says stillness is not the absence of strength, it's the expression of strength. Now, here's where I think this shows up in our world, guys. When something goes wrong that's outside of our control, too often we go into hyperdrive. Like our stress levels go up, like we add energy where there doesn't need to be energy. We make brash decisions, or convincing ourselves that they're thought out decisions. Like Stoics talk about this dichotomy of control. And there are two different things in life. They say the things that are up to you and you control, and the things that are not up to you and that you don't control. The things that we don't control, oftentimes the results we need to detach from. We need stillness around that. The things that we do control, we need 100% focus on. So if we didn't hit our appointment goal this month, man, we can't control the number of appointments. We want to focus there and we want to convince ourselves we can, but you know what we can control? You know what we can control? Charlie and Lizzie and Kyrie and Kate, like we can control the activities that we knew would have gotten those appointments. That's what we can control. So did we control that? Don't spend a lot of time thinking about and getting upset about what you can't control. Ryan Holiday says stillness is the key. Stillness is the key. All right, guys, those are the 5, right? Just as a quick recap, don't change your goal. It's the activities that we know will lead us to that goal. That's the only point in setting that goal. Like setting the goal is completely irrelevant. It's the activities that we told ourselves we were going to do on our path to that goal. Number 2, just think about the day. Don't think about the week. Don't think about the month. Don't think about the year right now. Just focus on winning the day each morning, right? Remember those 3 questions as well. What can I do? What will I do? Like, what did I just tell myself I will do? And ultimately, what did I do? Number 3, learn something new. Number 4, play the long game. And number 5, be still. Leslie, that's what I got.
Thank you. That was awesome. That wrapped it up perfectly, you guys. Once again, thank you so much for joining us for our monthly State of the Industry. It's so great seeing all of your faces. Watch out for the wrap-up email either later today or first thing tomorrow. We have a ton to drop into this one. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you next month, same time, same place. And a huge thank you to our team leaders today for bringing their biggest ahas from Mega. So have a powerful day, you guys.
Woohoo! Have a great day, everybody.